Hey everybody, it's Meredith Miller with Inner Integration. I'm here tonight answering some of your questions about recovery after narcissistic abuse. I only ask that you ask kind of a more general question, so keep your questions kind of short. You can write in the chat over there and keep them kind of short so that they can kind of apply to a lot of people. Please don't write me a really long personal story. I won't be able to read that in this setting. Hi. Yeah, feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're coming from. I'm not going to say your name, by the way. Don't worry. I'm not going to embarrass you and say your name. I'm going to upload this into YouTube. So your questions will be anonymous. Also, I just want to make sure that you guys know we have the new Inner Integration podcast up. We have 5 episodes up as of today. Every Friday, a new episode comes out. Our first one is on the trauma bond. After that, we did narcissistic mothers. The third one was complex PTSD. The fourth one was boundaries, setting limits with manipulative people. In that episode, I interviewed my friend Angelina Caporelli. She taught me almost everything I know about boundaries. So we talked for about 20-25 minutes at the beginning. And then later there's clips from my YouTube videos. All of the podcasts have like a montage of clips from the videos that I do on a certain topic, but it's just the audio. And then I do an introduction, and that introduction is anywhere between 15 to maybe 30 minutes. Sometimes it's an interview, or sometimes it's just me talking about that theme for that podcast week. So be sure to check that out because it really brings everything together on those major topics. So every Friday, we're going to keep coming out with those. You can find that on iTunes. You can use Stitcher. I think that's the platform if you have an Android. And we're now on the Mental Health News Radio Network. You can find us with them on their website. You can also find us on Binge TV. So if you have a smart TV, or if you have, say, Apple TV hooked up or Roku hooked up, you can look in the applications for Binge Network TV. You can open that application, and then if you look for the genre of mental health, you'll find the Inner Integration podcast there. And right now I'm in the process of uploading my YouTube videos onto there as well. Hey guys, I see all your comments over here. That's great, letting us know where you are. En español después, como en una media hora más o menos. I'm going to do one of these in Spanish after this. Yeah, feel free to let us know where you're coming from, where you are. Oh gosh. Okay, so somebody's asking, yeah, feel free to leave your questions, guys. Like I said, just keep them kind of general and pretty short so that I can read them, so that it can apply to a lot of people. Someone's saying her brother's girlfriend is a manipulator, and whenever her brother tries to leave this woman, she says she's pregnant. Any advice, he always falls back to her. That's a really dirty manipulation trick that a lot of women will use. And it also works the other way around. A man will actually try to get a woman pregnant sometimes to trap her. So don't fall for this. This is really bad. So, okay, if you're the man in this situation and the woman's like, no, you can't leave, I'm pregnant. Okay, we're going to the doctor. We're going to get the test together. Make sure that you have proof of that together. Call her on her bluff if you suspect that she's manipulating you, just trying to get you to stay, or trying to extort you for money or some other source of supply. I would immediately call that bluff and go and get a test. Chances are that's not going to happen because in this case it's a manipulation. She says this every time. When it's the flip side, when you're the woman and the man is trying to get you pregnant, you better be careful. You better protect yourself. You better make him wear a condom because a lot of narcissistic men or psychopaths will try to get you pregnant. You can tell them it could be your boyfriend, it could be your husband, and like maybe you're on like a we don't need to use condoms kind of terms. And you might say, look, I'm in the middle of my cycle right now. This happened to me 3 different times, and thank God I never got pregnant. But in 3 different relationships with my ex-husband and 2 more long-term relationships, I was like, okay, this is midpoint of the cycle right now. We have to be extra careful. And that is exactly when he didn't listen to me and didn't do the job that he was supposed to do to pull out. So if you're the woman, then you better take extra care if you're with a man, and you suspect that there's any kind of manipulation on. And then if you're a man and a woman tries to pull that kind of manipulation and say that she's pregnant and your gut's telling you something's wrong, you call her bluff and you take her to the doctor. Okay, someone's asking about narcissistic mothers. Um, okay, daughters of narcissistic mothers, how they suffer in-laws use their damage and insecurities, and if they have special needs children, their parents and in-laws make her life hell, making her feel like she isn't good enough and she gave birth to children who aren't good enough. So that's terrible. It sounds like what you're talking about is you've got the narcissistic mother on your side, maybe, and then also an in-law or in-laws who are narcissistic, and you're getting abuse from both sides, and then they're, involving your children as well. I would really reevaluate why you're having contact, why you're letting your kids have contact. Like, if your parent abused you, don't you want to save your kids from that? Really think about that, because you could be doing all this work to heal yourself and to stop the legacy of abuse that went on in your family for generations upon generations. And maybe you're doing all this inner work and that's wonderful, but then your parents or your in-laws have contact with your children and all they're doing is skipping over you and continuing that legacy of abuse with your children. Don't you want better for them than you had? If you were raised by a narcissistic mother, you know the devastation that brought. You're an adult now. You're trying to get yourself together. You're trying to heal yourself. That is devastating when your mother is a narcissist or other manipulative character. And so when your kids are getting it from both sides, from your side, from your husband or wife's side, that's a horrible situation for your kids. Like, you're suffering for sure. Think about how much your kids are suffering in long term. So I would really reevaluate your level of contact. If you're considering no contact, listen to the podcast episode that we just uploaded today. It's on no contact. The first half of that episode, I think I forgot to mention earlier, is an interview with Kim Saeed. She's an author. She's got an amazing blog. She's got a Facebook page. It's called Let Me Reach. And her book is called How to Do No Contact Like a Boss. I cited that book in my book. I've cited that book in numerous videos before. It is the book to get if you're trying to go no contact or you're planning to go no contact, no matter who that person is, whether it's a romantic relationship or family or in-laws in this case. And really listen to that stuff. Like that episode we made, it's like it will sober your mind out of the false guilt, that sense of obligation, that sense of fear, that fog that keeps you trapped in those familial relationships. And just because they're family does not mean they get a pass to abuse you or your kids or anyone. It's not okay. So I would really reevaluate your contact level. Someone's asking, how can you maintain boundaries with a narcissist when you have to co-parent? So I would love for you to check out that recent episode I just uploaded today on no contact, that interview with Kim Saeed. She is a mother. She had to do this with the father of her son. And she has some amazing advice for other parents from a parent. Check out her book, because in the book she also talks about that, because no contact, when you don't have to co-parent, for example, it means none whatsoever. When you're co-parenting, there's going to be a minimal amount of exchange, but she teaches you how to do this and how to modify that in certain cases where maybe the person is just horrible. She teaches you how you can actually exchange your kids in front of the police station or through someone else. So there are alternatives to you having to have that constant contact with that person. I would definitely check that episode out and check out Kim's materials as well. Someone's asking about black and white mentality two choices only, it's A or B. I'm not sure. Are you referring to something I was talking about or to narcissists in general? That black and white thing. Hey everybody, thanks for leaving me all these little hellos, letting me know where you're coming from. Bolivia, awesome. Argentina, Montreal, you guys are all over the place. Norway, that's amazing. Australia. Okay, what about if your ex texts you about his new girlfriend within 3 months of him breaking up with me, and she wants kids and he doesn't, and yet he still wants to be there? What the heck is happening there? It baffles me. Is he just playing games? So I'm guessing maybe he told you that he didn't want kids and you did, and maybe did that have something to do with the conflict or the breakup in your relationship? While I'm looking for your follow-up on that, okay, so within 3 months, he's got this new person, and now he's saying, or somehow you're finding this out. I'm not sure how you're finding this out. Maybe you're stalking his social media. Maybe you have friends in common. I would first look at that, like, can you get rid of him on social media? Is that where you're seeing this stuff? I would get rid of him. I would block him or her. Sorry, I think it's him in this case. Absolutely block them so that you don't tempt yourself to go stalking on the page and knowing the stuff. Because if you were like, oh, I really want to have kids, and he was all, no, I don't want to have kids, and now he's posting on there, oh, I got this new girlfriend, and we're going to have all these babies together. You know exactly what that is, don't you? He's doing this to you. He knows that you're following him, and you're going to see that, or maybe this is coming through common friends, and he knows it's going to get to you. So if that's the case, I would reevaluate those friends. Are they really friends that you want in your life? Because when they have something in common with him and they're constantly giving you this information, if they can't respect the fact that you don't want to know those things because it just stirs all these uncomfortable emotions for you and all these memories of the past, then you don't want to hang out with those people. Is he just playing games? Absolutely. Absolutely. One, he's playing games with you because he knows somehow you're finding out and it hurts you. And two, he's playing games with her because that doesn't sound like that's what he's wanting. He's probably saying that to lead her on, and then he's triangulating with you at the same time. So he's doing like multiple layers of manipulation there. But this is the question, right? Like, are they happy after they leave? The social media posts, or you're hearing through the grapevine, they look so happy, they sound so happy, they said this thing or wanted this thing, and now they're doing just the opposite. It's always like that. It's always just a show. It's always just for that public perception. It's always just to hurt the last one and to woo the next one. And this could be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. Someone says, how do you stop the narcissist from manipulating you and making you feel guilty for not complying with them? Those are boundaries. So I would listen to the 4th episode of the Inner Integration podcast. It's on boundaries, setting limits with manipulative people. And Angelina talks about that with me during the interview in the first 20-25 minutes. And then I have clips from my videos on boundaries, and it goes all around this. And it also talks about getting over that sense of guilt. It's a false guilt. It's not a real guilt. And understand, just to make that real brief, because that episode just explains everything really comprehensively. But that false guilt, right? They want you to feel that sense of false guilt when you don't comply with them, when you set a boundary. It will 100% always be like that with a toxic person. You have to understand you're doing nothing wrong. Okay, you set the boundary and they're making you feel guilty and they're making you feel selfish and they're making you feel ashamed for some reason for having that boundary. Expect that. Okay, you have the right to set your boundary. Expect that when you're dealing with the manipulator, they're not going to take your boundary for an answer. They're not going to accept that. They're not going to accept your no. They're not going to accept your limit. And instead of just making themselves look like a bad person, they're going to try to make you look like the bad person. You're selfish for setting that boundary and you should feel bad for some reason. And so, especially if you've been with this person for a long time and like, it was like you were always letting them do that thing. And now it's like, it's not okay. Like you had this revelation. You're like, oh, I need a boundary there. And you set a boundary and they're like, oh, but all this, time and it was okay. And why now? You can say, well, things have changed and this is how things are now. This is the boundary now. And that's it. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to set those limits. In fact, you are responsible to do that for yourself because no one else will do that for you. And in fact, that is the quickest way to recognize a toxic person is set a boundary. Maybe you just met this person and just start going out and you set a boundary. The person wants to see you a lot and you're like, actually tonight I'm going out with my friends, or tonight I have this work thing, or tonight I have whatever thing, or tonight I just can't. And maybe you just want to sit on the sofa in front of the TV and just zone out and not have anyone there. And that's okay. You don't owe anybody that explanation. You're allowed to do that. Watch their reaction. Are they trying to manipulate you to make you feel bad, to make you feel guilty? That's a manipulative person. That's a toxic person. That's a red flag. And I would start stepping away pretty quickly. So how do you make them stop making you feel guilty? You don't. You can't. 100% expect them to do that. They'll either go directly at you. That's the more overt way where they'll degrade you, they'll shame you, they'll say something really horrible to you, or they'll go the indirect way where it's like, but you're so selfish and I just asked for this and why can't you do this thing for me? They'll play the victim, they do that kind of thing, or they'll very subtly shame you. Oh, I see you have a boundary there. Well, apparently you have an issue with time, because you're tired of them showing up late all the time and you called them out, right? So expect that. Oh, good. Someone said the Sana series was life-changing. That's awesome. That's my 12-week Sana series. That's the intermediate course. You can find it on my website. That helps you if you're in stage 1 and you're trying to get into stage 2, or you're in early stage 2. That's that intermediate course, the 12-week Sana series. It will help you make that jump from stage 1 into stage 2. Yeah, so the person about the boundaries, I think that was, said this is your husband. He always makes you feel horrible when you don't do what he wants. Then you know exactly who you're married to. So now maybe you want to start to reevaluate, if you want to stay in that marriage, if you want to stay with the person who always makes you feel bad when you're trying to take care of yourself. Is that okay? Okay, so someone says, my son is an empath like me, and like me, he married a narcissist. I've been estranged from him intermittently for the past few years because of his narc father and now because of his narc wife. He knows I love him and I know he loves me, but he feels that he has to choose between his father and now his wife. What do I do? I'm dying here, Meredith, and the worst is knowing he is suffering and will continue to do so the same hell I did. So these are really challenging situations. When someone is in an abusive relationship, in this case, it's your son, it could be anyone that you love that's close to you, and you see it. You can see what's going on and you want to help them. You want to get them out of that relationship because you know that they're worth more than that. You know that they deserve happiness and peace, and you know that they're not getting that in that relationship. But people will stay as long as they need to. You can introduce this to him. You can talk to him about your own struggles that you're overcoming when you make yourself vulnerable in that way and share, not complaining and from victim mode, right? But like, here's what I struggled with and here's how I overcame it. And allow your son to read between the lines. Did he get the lesson? Did he hear the message in there? Instead of being up in his face like, you need to leave her and you can't have a relationship with your father, that just comes across as really controlling, and it is. Okay, even though you can see that he deserves better, that he doesn't need to stay in a relationship like that with his father or with his wife, you can't rescue him. You can only rescue yourself. And when you're talking about a parent-child situation like this one, the best thing you can do is to be that example, to be the lighthouse, to shine that light so that he can find his way out of that storm to the shore. Because if you're not shining that light, how is he ever going to get to that shore? You know, if you're out in a boat and you're struggling and you're barely staying alive yourself and you're like, the shore's over there, the shore's over there, how is he ever going to find it? He's just seeing you're struggling as well. And maybe your boats are going to hit each other because the sea is so turbulent there together and you're getting into this conflict, right? So be the lighthouse for him, shine the way, show him through example how you set boundaries, how you value yourself, how you're rebuilding yourself after going through that abusive situation, and allow him to come to you. Give him only as much as he asks for. You know, as he shows curiosity and if he starts to come to you like, oh, I'm noticing this or that, what do I do? Answer that question, but don't give him like a whole mountain more, right? Because you don't want to overwhelm him. You remember how it was, and that's the thing. It can be really frustrating when you're looking at someone else who's in it and you're like, get out, get out. You're worth so much more. But have the empathy to remember what it was like when you were there. How hard was it for you to see your way out? How hard was it for you to accept what was going on, right? So have that empathy and recognize that everybody goes through that process. It's a trauma bond. It's an addiction. There's all kinds of brain damage. Like so much is happening. But you need to be the example for him because you're the mother. I can only imagine, of course, how much that hurts to see him suffer like that. Like it must hurt you to see him suffer because he's your son and you love him so much. But just remember, that is his path. You can't save him. Okay, someone's saying, I started a business a couple years ago. Since that happened, I started getting a lot of people playing victim, asking to be given money or to be given free services. However, people who were close to me became quite obsessive and guilt me in front of other people, turning them against me. How can I manage the situation better? I'm not even sure if they're narcissistic. Okay, it doesn't matter if they're narcissistic. Let's talk the basics of manipulation, of toxicity, right? So you started a business and people are playing victim and asking for money or free services. So, okay, here's the thing. If you're starting a business and maybe you have been abused before, manipulated, used, and maybe your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-confidence isn't very high. So when people come to you and they expect free services, especially people that you might feel almost guilty like you owe them that, especially when they come to you with an entitlement. Okay, manipulators, narcissists, all kinds of manipulators, they will always come to you with a sense of entitlement. Well, I deserve blah, blah, blah. I need you to give me blah, blah, blah. Sorry for that siren. That's entitlement. Recognize it for what it is. Okay, I don't know what kind of business you run, but maybe you run some kind of online business where you're selling knowledge of some sort. And maybe you do something like what I do, which I learned from Brendan Burchard in the Experts Academy, is to create a whole lot of free stuff for people. So you create videos, you create free courses, you create something for free, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're doing, podcast, you're giving away free stuff. So you don't have to feel guilty. You have stuff that's free. You're generously giving of yourself for free. And when you do things like videos or whatever can relate to your business that can apply to a lot of people at once versus just giving your time to this one person, you can make a video and you can help tens or hundreds of thousands of people with that one video. And you're giving away your time for free. So no, you don't need to defend yourself of why you don't need to give them your services for free, your time for free. Your time is valuable. If you have a low self-worth, you're doubting that right now. You don't believe that your time is valuable. I was there. I was trying to run a holistic healing business for years, and I was always giving it away or feeling bad because people wanted the price reduced or they wanted free stuff, whatever. You got to value yourself. Okay. And then balance that with doing something for free. Have some kind of pro bono thing that you do so that you feel good about it, so that you can also tell people, oh, you want something for free? Here's all my free resources. And one of the main things that people do when they have an online business is when people opt in with their name and email, just like on my homepage, you get something for free. So on my homepage, you get a free course. Everybody who opts in with their name and email gets a free beginner's course. It's a 3-part video course. It's got PDF downloads. It's a whole complete course for them to have for free simply by entering their name and email on my website, and then they're part of my email campaign. So you can do something like that as well. But really that comes down to self-worth. You really want to work on your self-worth and recognize what your worth and what your value is, and not feel bad for charging for your services, for earning a living on planet Earth like everybody else. It gets really confusing when you're running your own business, and then it's like now people expect things for free. But think about it. Like, would people call a plumber and expect to have plumbing work for free? No, they wouldn't. Are they going to call an attorney and expect to get something for free? No, they're going to get billed a lot of money an hour, right? So think about that. You're a professional. You have a business to run. Work on your self-worth. Someone says co-parenting is the worst. You can't break off contact. I'm sure it is. For all of you who are co-parenting, please check out that latest episode, episode 5 of the Inner Integration podcast on no contact, and the interview with Kim Saeed on parenting. You're definitely going to want to hear that. Someone's saying, any words we may say to manipulators so they know we're no longer falling into their manipulation. So I would set a boundary. I would set a boundary, and that's, you don't have to set something false or do something just to test them, but this will come up in daily life when you're dealing with a manipulator. And just simply set your boundary or call them out on something. That will reveal them very quickly. This sounds like blame shifting. This sounds like minimization. And call out the tactic that they're using and watch how they turn it right back on you really quickly. That's the very first sign that they're manipulating you. But when you catch it and you don't fall for it, then you know that you're not falling into their manipulation, because that's the first thing that happens when you call them out on anything or you set a boundary, is they flip it against you. That's your moment to shine right there. That's your moment to say, oh, I recognize what that is. That will happen every time. And this is my time to stand by that boundary. Someone said they were watching the hoovering video and it literally happened before her eyes while she was watching it. It's uncanny how similar they are. Uncanny. Those 3 tests that they go through in that order. Someone said Kim Saeed was the very first person whose site she found, hence the beginning of her research in freedom. Awesome. Someone's asking about energetic cords we may still have with the narc. It's been over 2 years, and sometimes out of nowhere, he pops into my mind or I'll see his name. And he has a very uncommon name. Yeah, when you see those synchronicities all around you, that person's on the radar, what I call it. You see their name, you see their birth date on license plates or on the clock or on a receipt or on a billboard. Sometimes it's that blatant. Those kind of things will happen, or it's just like he'll pop into your mind. It's not like you were sitting there ruminating and obsessing. It's like you were doing something, you were driving, you were brushing your teeth, and like this, a memory or this person. It could be a flashback, but it also could be this psychic connection. When you're talking about energetic cords, you want to cut those cords. I have one of those guided visualizations on my website. It's called Cutting Energetic Cords and Energetic Protection. So what it does is you close your eyes, you lay down, you listen to it with headphones, and it's going to walk you through this guided visualization of cutting the cords. I would do it for one person at a time. And at the very end of that guided visualization, it teaches you how to create this energetic dome that will keep psychic attack out. So anybody who's trying to send you psychic attack, that dome will keep that out. I actually had confirmation feedback from a psychopath. She was trying to psychically attack me. Apparently this had worked with a lot of people, and something told me to put this dome up. And she literally said, what the hell is that? There's some kind of dome around you. I can't get to you. And that's when I knew it worked. And I was so grateful that I got that feedback. So listen to that guided visualization. It will help you a lot. You'll find that on my website. All right, I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to launch again in Spanish for those who want to hear in Spanish, because I'm not going to do a video this week. I was running out of time. I thought, let me just do this live because it's so much less time, believe it or not, for me just to actually get on here and answer questions, and then it's automatically uploaded versus planning out a whole video and then shooting it and editing it and uploading it and all that. So let me do one more question, and then I will do preguntas en español. Someone's from my hometown. What? You're from Youngstown, Ohio? That's crazy. All right, let's see. Someone's asking about protecting your small children from a narc after divorce. How do you answer questions about dad without speaking poorly about him? Okay, so let's say that could go either way, right? It could be about dad or mom. How do you protect your children when they're very little? I would look to Kim Saeed's website. She's a mother. She had to deal with this I think she actually has several children. So I think she had to deal with this quite a lot. And, from what I've heard, it's like it's not good to bad talk the other parent, even if they're a horrible person and they've treated you badly. What I would do is focus on the child's feedback. Like, how does the child feel? So I would focus on keeping a very open communication with your child where your child feels confident that he or she can come to you and talk about whatever, and you're not going to judge them or put them down or make fun of them or anything like that. Or it's not going to make you angry, right? So you're going to have this open dialogue where they can come to you and you will listen. And when your child is talking, I would just zip it and listen. Like, really be present and listen. Put the phone away, put the TV away, put the computer away, put friends, husband, everything. Listen to that child and listen to what he's saying or she's saying and really feel what they're trying to communicate, because maybe sometimes they can't quite articulate exactly what they want to articulate. And maybe you can kind of get it. And then you can ask a gentle question, an open-ended question, not a yes or a no, but to kind of encourage them to keep talking. But then also, you know how kids are, right? Like, when they're done, they're done. So when he or she is like done talking about mom or dad, whoever it may be in this case, then stop. Don't push the issue on them. Just drop it. And then the moment they bring it up again, be very present, be very open, and allow them to talk about the feedback. And especially do this when they're coming back from that parent's custody. If they're going with the parent for a day or a few days or whatever at a time, when they come back, you can ask these gentle, soft questions to kind of get them to open up. And if they ask questions directly, just give them all they need to know, all they're asking about, and not a whole lot more. Bite-sized, and let them ask for more. If they ask for more, then give them more, but don't overwhelm them. And definitely check out Kim's site. Also check out, he abbreviates it. I think it's DAD, Dads After Divorce. Can someone type that in the chat if I'm saying it wrong? It's Dwayne's channel on YouTube. He has a lot of information about parenting, co-parenting with manipulators. Dads After Divorce or something. Can someone type that in? So I know there's a lot more questions here and a lot of comments. Thank you so much for all of you who showed up today. This is going to be posted on the page pretty soon, and I'll post it on YouTube. I am going to wrap it up now so that I can do a Q&A in Spanish for my Spanish speakers, so everybody will get a video this week. I am sending all of you a big hug, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.